my phone. How to watch my Google Plus Hangout live broadcast on my phone.
Hello, thank you for joining. I'm not sure how to hear you and not sure if you can hear me. Oh, okay, hey, hold on, I can sort of hear you. Let me get some volume cranked up here. Okay, all I'm hearing is myself. So I'm going to assume that I cannot hear my viewers. You guys can only hear me. And so that kind of doesn't work well because I need some feedback. So I'm still learning how the hell to use all this. Let me start by showing you how to graph guitar fretboard for yourself, and why graph paper is the way to learn fretboard for a visual learner, because your fingers already know where to go on the fretboard. You need something to connect the dots, something to make all the positions really easy to understand, and there really is only one position on the guitar which you will learn after I show you how to connect all the squares here. And you'll learn the actual geometry of the fretboard um, in its most simplest form, which makes it very easy to understand. And once you unlock this code, here's the magic. You will unleash in yourself the ability to not only go up and down the fretboard like you know how to do now, but go diagonally left to right, like you see Joe Satriani doing, and Steve Vai and everybody else. And you wonder, how they can just jump across and know all those notes like that. You don't have to learn a million scales. You have to only learn the most basic building block, basically the Lego system of the fretboard. So, hope you're enjoying so far. Let me fill out this graph. We've selected 6 squares. And by the way, sorry for this really blurry camera. Number one, my extra light broke here, so I'm dealing with some uh, a dark room, and this camera's got to get upgraded tomorrow. I'm just dealing with my original old web camera, and it's pretty grainy old video here. So here we go, 6 squares, and this is going to represent the headstock here. Maybe let that bank of squares, we'll call that the nut, which is where your open string note originates from, anyways. So here we go, EADGBE. Go ahead and label that for a reference point on your piece of graph paper like this. And you can start graphing out what we're going to graph as the major scale. And it'll create a pattern you can always reference. And that pattern, all you have to do is move that memorizable pattern up and down the fretboard to get any key without having to know each individual note and a whole lot of lengthy information that makes it too hard to apply to music that you want to just fly out of your fingers, right? So here's the simple way to learn the fretboard. Here you start filling in your squares of all the notes. And you may want to make some notes here at the bottom squares that the major scale, as evidenced on a piano, will look like this. Basically starting at C, we're going to make a black key right there. Then we're going to go D and a black key and an E. And you'll notice on the piano keyboard that after 2 black keys, there's always no black key. And then there's another series of black keys, but it's a 3. This is going to be instrumental in what you unlock as the secrets of the fretboard. This 2-3 pattern. So just keep that in your mind. That comes up later. Comes up a lot in my lessons. B, D, E, F, G, A, B, and what comes after B, C. So you're basically at the beginning again. And if you check out a piano keyboard, it's always two keys, three keys, two keys, three keys, two keys, three keys. As a matter of fact, let's check it out right here. Oh my gosh, sorry for my foot in the video. Two keys, and three keys. Cool thing about my videos is all my instruments are live, so you can hear all this stuff. Oh, that's terrible look how blurry all this is. Maybe tomorrow a new webcam, we'll see what money allows, which probably will be nothing. Maybe Craigslist will have a deal. So knowing that we have, it's helpful to know that when this reconnects, just like on the piano keyboard, when the 2 goes into the 3 and starts again, there's another conjoined area with no black key. So B and C and E and F are always together. That is this is instrumental for you learning the guitar fretboard because that code is used in its own way on the guitar. And any serious guitarist knows this in one way, shape, or form or the other, even if they don't think that they know it. This is the way their brain is organized, and this is what probably Steve Vai and Joe Satriani are not going to tell you in any of their lessons because this is very basic and it will unleash the monster in you. So here we go. We start filling in the notes as we know them in this pattern. C, skip D, skip E, don't skip F, G, A, B. Now let's see what this E, F does. Here's something interesting. The code is kind of buried in this guitar fretboard. This is why no one ever tells you this because it's actually really hidden. Well, here we have E, F, and now we have A is the next string, the fifth string. It starts with A, so then naturally A, skip, then B, and C. So there you have your two notes, your E, F, and your B, C, and they're split apart. So you don't notice that there's an inherent valuable tool right there. But let's continue on, and if we move down the strings and just start working out, we go D, skip one, E, don't skip one, F. And look what we have here. We have a box of 4 notes. And this box of 4 notes may be the most handy thing you've ever learned about the guitar fretboard. Because consider this. Let's do some simple math here. The major scale consists of the notes that you're going to play in most of your solos. If you've heard the solo to Comfortably Numb, any Pink Floyd song, any Rush song, any Stevie Ray Vaughan song, Jimi Hendrix, let's see, Jefferson Airplane, Stone Temple Pilots, and into the 90s, things can get a little strange, but any things, as music progressed, music began to be able to change keys a lot more. Popular music did. But either way, you're going to play 98% of your rock and roll radio songs using a major scale. Okay, so a major scale is 7 notes. So, you start with 12 notes, is all there really is. That's helpful to know. How many notes are there really? There are only 12. You can see them on the fretboard, but on the keyboard, there's only 12 notes. A scale consists of a group of 7 of those notes. Here's an interesting factoid. 7 minus 5 equals 12. What scale has 5 notes? Hey, the very popular pentatonic that you've heard of, but that's a story for another day. Put it in the back of your mind. Um, so getting back to business here, we have 7 notes. Now we just uncovered a group of 4 that always stays together on the fretboard, no matter where B, C is, E, F is always and always underneath it. And the only time it doesn't look like it's underneath it, perhaps here, is when you're in another box, but that box doesn't, that string doesn't exist unless you're on a 7-string guitar, where you have a B string up here, and you would have B, C, E, F. Hey, what do you know? Check out how a standard tuned 7-string guitar, the low string is B. What do you know, right? Well, 7 minus 4, what does that equal? 3. At any given time that you know this square, you only have 3 more possible notes to know to know the entire major scale underneath your fingers anywhere you are on the fretboard. Anywhere you are on the fretboard, this pattern is actually under your fingers. You just have to determine exactly which frets it is, and later on that becomes very easy to know. Because this is built in a grid-like structure that connects to itself, so it's going to be very easy to understand. So notice right here, we have 2 notes that are linked to this box with 2 spaces. Well, that will always, always, always be like that. And I'll maybe draw right here a little magic cool formula. A, B, C, what's the letter that comes next? That would be, you guessed it, D. Now here's a neat thing. You'll notice that if we take, here's our box of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If we take all the notes on each side, 1, 2, 3, and 4, that's 4 and 4. That's 8. That's 8 notes. So guess what? We are plus 1. So guess what we have? If we have 8 notes, we have all 7 notes of the major scale under our finger. 1 is a double in our pattern here. Underneath here, what do you have? Well, you have your sharps and your flats. Since we only have 4 boxes, we are technically missing 1 sharp and 1 flat. But if you're playing 99% of music and trying to stay in the scale when you play and trying to hit a whole note of some kind or another, then you're going to stick with this pattern. All your great solos, even though you think that they're playing all kinds of different notes, are all playing the majority of these notes on a beat. And then you'll learn how to use these off notes to color your solos. Here are your spices. This will jazz up your solo and make everything cool after the audience has become, thrilled and passed their thrill with a series of scalar notes of some sort, some passage, some riff, some lick. Can jazz things up with these side notes. And therein lies Victor Wooten's trick, to where when you become a proficient improviser, improvising gets a little easier because you realize a magic trick. Victor Wooten has always said, and so have many other jazzers, that a secret to improv is if you land on a bad note, or well, first of all, the secret is use your ears when you play. You're listening to yourself as you play. You're listening to what your mind is telling you to play, and you listen to what your fingers end up interpreting that your mind just said. And if when you get real good at listening fast, you'll know where you are. You'll know what you heard. And if something doesn't sound great, guess what the secret is? He says to just be calm and take that note and slide it up or slide it down. All you need is one half step, and you will be, no matter what, always at a good note. And that sounds too good to be true for most players, but here it is on paper, my friends. Notice that in between these 2 good notes here, there is the bad note. And the bad note slide up, slide down, will slide into a more pleasing tone. Whether that's great for the chord you're on is up to your own ear, but it will be greater than this note here, which will sound like some type of deliberate mistake. unless you get crafty with it and know the jazzer's trick, which hopefully just got easier for you. So, A, B, C, D. Going over here, hey, look, the fretboard on the guitar always repeats at this point D, D, E, F, and G. And you start back at the beginning A, B, C, D, E, F, G. All right, if you notice that went wrong, A, B, C, D, D, E, F, G. So here's something to keep in your mind. You can take your, like take this in baby steps. Don't try to do everything I'm talking about in this video in one night. Draw something out and let it sink in for a day. And when you can recall it by memory the day later, then you can move on to your next thing that you're going to learn. You can put some little color notes here to let you know that here's a secret to the secret to this little pattern is that note is on repeat. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G makes a complete scale. All the notes you'll need to jam on. Now, think of this way, okay? This pattern right here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. How many times have you ever even played that riff? That's four frets, 4 fingers, 4 fretting fingers, playing this pattern, or let's look at it this way, playing this. How many times have you played that? And even up and down the fretboard, not using open strings. That's like, let's say that this was actually of the 12th fret, perhaps, and 12, 13, 14, and 15. How many times have you played that kind of riff shape and this kind of riff shape? Well, guess why it sounded good. Now you know why, where you probably were in your scale against the music you were playing if all those notes sounded great. Now let's hear that on guitar. Thank you for just sitting there while I get up and get my guitar. Since these are live, this won't be as great as a real edited music lesson that some people are very good at broadcasting. This is the beginning of my work here, and if you like this work and you happen to catch this video on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel. And there should be even a potential to donate something if you want to. If you think this is good and you'd like to learn more and you'd like to have a clearer video, please feel free to help me, if I'm saying this right, as per the terms, upgrade my channel, and we'll be purchasing brand new equipment to make this that much easier to learn and understand and see. So, rolling on here, let's hear, as promised, starting with A on the 12th fret. G. So I'm going to play this. I'm going to play the square under my number 1 and 2 fingers. Then I'm going to play the square under my 3 and 4 fingers. So let's take a look at that here. So you get the full visual there. I threw in the Victor Wooten trick. If you heard that in that little riff I just played there, twice or so, I just deliberately went into the wrong note. Now that I know the pattern so well, and just slid it right into the other one to give myself a little bit more of a sound, put some originality into the solo. Um, as original as you can get with these age old tricks that many jazzers have known, and now is going to just simply get more widespread as YouTube reveals the secrets of the guitar fretboard from the ancient aliens that built it. Okay, that was a stretch, so no ancient aliens, but when you crack this code of the fretboard, you're going to see that there was something pretty intentional and pretty amazingly designed into this pattern. So let's continue it on the fretboard here. I'm going to put this guitar down. So give me a second here. Okay. Continuing our code here. If this is even slightly understandable, it's probably so damn blurry. I'm so sorry. So here's a neat thing. If you're ever at this square on your fretboard, your next available square starts connected to this square always, and it's always in this direction every time. Lock this into your brain, it never changes. Once again, B, C, E, F. And keep in mind, folks, this is your general roadmap to the fretboard. This is going to contain other information coming up. What do I mean by other information? Soon you're going to want to know things about intervals when you want to start building chords. You're going to hear about flat thirds and add a flat fifth to this, and you're going to want to know what that means. You're going to make this same pattern, but all you need to do is add in the intervals to make this an interval chart, to make intervals, how chords work. And once you see the chords and you map out your first, your third, or your flat third to make it major or minor, if you don't know that, we'll explain it in another video. Ask for it in the comments below. But once you start mapping out chords and you see them in this pattern, you're going to go, oh my gosh, there's the C chord I always knew about. There's the D chord. Hey, there's the cowboy chord. Hey, look, there's the G. There's the A. There's the power chord. You're going to see it all develop before your eyes. And next thing you'll know, you'll be like, oh, I totally know this fretboard. Okay, so before I get too unprofessional here, let's continue on with this jazz. We have one more string to consider here, and that is down below here. We have B, C, E, F, so we need another B, C for the top of a box. That won't continue because there's no string below. There's just an E string, and that is here, always connected to this box. However, there's a problem. If you just noticed, if you are paying attention, there is one slight hiccup in your guitar fretboard. That the B string sends everything one fret this way. So as you may remember from looking at the major scale picture in guitar books, there's a weird shape down here, and this is what causes that weird shape. So while you want to think of the box as it was drawn here, the box, of course, just to keep this code mysterious to every other guitarist except the ones who studied it and saw my video, this box shifts over, but it's still the same box. B, C, E, F, here it goes. So there's your next square. The next square should theoretically connect to this F. Should always connect to a B. This fretboard should go F B F B F B. Is your pattern of flat fifths, if you know what that is. But if you don't, someday you will if you follow along with my lessons here. And remember, baby steps. All you have to do is accept that you're not going to know music theory overnight. As a matter of fact, music theory, what you're going to find is just like an ever it's like a rabbit hole that never ends. You're going to keep finding other twists and turns and take this direction and take that direction, and it's going to be really really cool because it's been really cool for me. That's all I can tell you is once I got past my first, I accepted that I had to learn in baby steps and gave myself a tidbit every day for a little while, and then things started building on each other and would get more interesting and more interesting. Next thing you know, I had an ability. I could know chords and find new kinds of music on the guitar. And here's what this is all about, my friends. I want to teach you music theory that you can turn right away into guitar and piano music. Many people teach music theory and they don't relate it into music because music theory is a standard set of rules, and rules don't make music, interesting music. Rules will make Mary Had a Little Lamb and Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, but they won't make the Star Spangled Banner, and they won't, well, they might, but they won't make Jimi Hendrix's version of that song. So um, I want to teach you how to translate this music theory into and apply it into music that will, once you unlock the fretboard, you've unlocked your emotions. And here's why you're here in front of that guitar and always wanting to play. You are, whether you realize it or not, just trying to express yourself. Your emotion is crying for expression, and that's why you're so passionate about your guitar and your music. And it really sucks when you get to this tool of expression, but you just can't really understand it. It becomes very limiting, a very bottlenecking type of thing where you've got all this frustration and because you got so many feelings, but you can't get them out through your instrument. And you will once you be able to know, once you're able to stretch out across the fretboard comfortably. You can make all kinds of sounds. Once you can make all kinds of sounds and understand how the modes work, how this thing can leak you into every different mode. Modes are moods. Moods express your emotions. Do you get that? Let me repeat that for you one more time. When people talk about modes, the Dorian mode, the Ionian mode, you've heard all the modes of the major scale. They are pieces of the major scale that link together. But that doesn't tell you music. But each mode is a mood. This may have been where that term came from, mood. And how are you expressing yourself? Well, create a mood. How do guitarists, guitar rockers, Joe Satriani draw you into their tunes? They create an atmosphere. They create a mood. And a lot of that music is modal music, modal driven music. So, that being said, that's where this will take you into the ability to do that, but you got to take it in these little baby steps here. Maybe today you're just learning this basic building block, which will probably wrap up this lesson as it gets kind of late here. And I'm sure you don't want to watch for most people probably stopped watching this video after 45 seconds. You are very lucky, and if you're here this long, thank you so much. B C E F B C E F would be down below, but there's no string there, so we're done. Now here's a clue: the bottom string always repeats where? On the top string. Let's see if that holds through. We got E F B C. Does B C link up right here? We've done our homework. It should. Let's see. E F G A B C. Mirror image of the fourth string. And you've just completed the open string, 8 frets of the guitar. You now have only 4 more frets to complete this thing right to the beginning. And right there, lo and behold, you're pretty happy because everything just got a little easier for you. Let me show you what happens here. Here you found your first pattern of squares. The pattern to fit into the guitar is broken here and only has half a box here and here. So this part from here to here, which repeats later on down the fretboard, you're going to want to remember that, is a touch, just a bit harder in the beginning to understand than this next part I'm going to show you. And this is the only other part of the fretboard you need to know. And boom, you have this thing unlocked under your fretboard. I mean, under your fingers. So BC, my friends, what comes under BC? AD, ha ha ha. No, not AD. BC, AD. I know. Yeah, get the joke. Okay, sorry, that's really bad, or just really dumb. B, C, E, F in music because elephants fart. I don't know. And your B, C, E, F square. Now, when you change keys, these notes will differ. But today we're doing this to map out the basic C major scale, by the way. There's a major scale for every note, which you'll learn how to understand all that later on if you're a total music newbie. Which I'm going to just kind of assume as I teach these lessons, so everybody is covered. For those of you who know, sorry to be a little redundant here. B, C, E, F. Guess where your next square is? It always connects. B connects to F. Fill in the blanks. B, C, E, F. We're only missing A, D, G when we do this. By the way, A, D, G. Remember, D is your double note. So you're missing A, D, D, G. You can come up with your own kind of saying, blah, blah, and blah, blah. Anyways, back to this point here. B, C, E, F, B, C, E, F, and if you take your other square here and just skip a fret due to the shift of the bottom 2 strings of the fretboard, actually, both of these shift over the same. And that creates an E that lines up again with the other. You have B, C, E, F right here. This square right here, this box probably right here will probably be one of the most important boxes you know. This little square, I'm going to draw in a bigger square right here. These are the bottoms of your pentatonic box shapes. If you fill in the rest of these notes, the pentatonic boxes will appear. And I'll show you how to, you can draw those in for yourself. But right here, you've got all the way to here. And right here, you have a B, E, C, F. Well, look at right here, B, E, C, F. There's a square right in the beginning at the open strings here on the bottom. So this square right here is actually this square. So we have reached the 12th fret. Right at this line, 12th fret. Wow, that's so blurry, so terrible, but sorry. This is the 12th fret line here. So all you have to learn is that to know everything repeating. This square here part of what you might refer to later as your Dorian scale, your Dorian shape, right? Later on, you're going to learn that these shapes are used for maps of the fretboard, but the name of the shape is still Dorian, perhaps, just to give it a label. But the confusion for guitarists comes when you try to make a Dorian sound using that shape. It doesn't work like that. That shape just helped you memorize a pattern. Dorian, the sound of Dorian, which is not the same thing as the shape, the name for the shape. We're using the same name, okay? But we used the name before to create a map of a shape, like naming different towns on a map that you just drew of an area. But to play in Dorian, you will use all the shapes. Your whole fretboard is going to be unlocked when you understand what I teach you about how to play in modes. You'll use this whole pattern and you'll learn that it's something else in the music that creates the mode for you. Trust me on that one. I will explain it, but perhaps not in this video. I think I'm going to end it here, just showing you once again a simple way to map out the basics of your fretboard. There's some missing notes here, but you can add them in if you just follow along. A, B, C, D, E, F, putting in the spaces properly. If you're careful, you'll fill in all the blanks and look for hidden shapes that appear to your eyes, and you'll start creating your own understanding of music theory, probably beyond what I could tell you here. Because I guess very few people are going to understand this like exactly the way my brain wired it up. I wouldn't expect you to understand it like this. However, I do believe I've brought this thing into its very core logic, which should be the name of one of my other videos, the core logic of the guitar fretboard. Ooh, that's a good one. I think I'm going to do that. No one's ever titled one like that. The core logic of the guitar fretboard, which is basically what you just saw here. Any questions about this method, leave them in the comments below. I think I'll get questions like, well, what if you detune the guitar? Well, you can then, if you do detune your guitar, list all the open string tunings and map your fretboard. Find out what happened to the squares. They're just going to move around. B and C are always going to be next to each other, and so is E and F. It's just how it works. You'll just move the squares around, and you could perhaps tune your guitar so all the squares line up perfectly and make it really, if that's easier for you, more power to you. You can really find out how to detune your guitar to make things easier to understand or play, and why you might want to choose a different tuning for your guitar. You'll also understand why the tuning that is on there is the way it is, and why Van Halen made a lot of sense by actually detuning a half step. Now, we can probably say, well, that was to better match David Lee Roth's vocals, and that's perhaps a good reason to detune so he could, just have a more powerful sound in the songs if that was what was needed. But when you check out all the black keys of the piano and realize that, guess what you're looking at when you see a guitar tuned down a half step? Well, then you'll understand how they could really relate their keyboard parts to the guitar pentatonic scale, because that's what the black keys are on the piano. By the way, these pictures, these slices, one, first note, skip one, skip two, skip one, skip one, skip two, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 notes, pentatonic scale, and it's an E flat pentatonic scale. Okay, if I've lost you there, type in a question, hit the subscribe button, um, and yeah, definitely do that so I can work on getting a better camera here. If you like what you heard and you think you could learn more from me, then and you don't mind investing in my channel here, that would be like super awesome. So I would like to thank you for taking the time to watch. If you are still here this far, you are totally awesome. And stay tuned for like a continuation because this was really just a initial kind of free thing I thought I would do. And I broadcasted on my local Craigslist and to see if anybody would join. And it doesn't look like anybody joined, but hey, you missed out. It's kind of late on a Saturday night, and no one's probably on Craigslist music section anyway. So hopefully everybody that inclined is out jamming right now or practicing. So have a great day, have a great night wherever you are in the world and wherever you are in life and wherever you are in your guitar journey. Have a great day.